Oh, I was muted. There we go. Okay, so resting your cheek on the bolster. And kind of snuggling in and dropping into a bit of stillness. There we go. A bit of silence. And as you arrive in this shape and arrive in this practice and arrive on your mat, just kind of check in with yourself. What is going on in your body? What's kind of cool about these Sober Girls yoga classes is that we also get an opportunity to check in with what's going on in our mind. We have our conversation at the start of the class, so that's kind of cool. So in classical yoga, there's a lot of philosophy, and it doesn't always come up in regular yoga classes. Sometimes it does. There's 5 ethical commitments. And then there's 5 almost like self commitments to the self. And one of those commitments is called svadhyaya. And committing to practice svadhyaya is committing to practice self-reflection. It's funny how sometimes I think things happen for a reason. And we have these experiences that kind of line up because they're teaching us something. A lot of us tonight in our check-in had things to bring up about how stepping away from drinking alcohol has been giving us an opportunity to reflect. If your head is on one cheek, just turn it to the opposite side. So we're going to have a yoga practice themed around this concept of reflection. And the poses we're going to take are poses that allow us to fold inwards. Kind of to physically be a metaphor for this. this intention. If you have any other intention for your practice today, maybe it's finding stillness, maybe it's just unwinding, finding peace. Whatever it is, establish it now. And we'll stay for another minute in our child's pose. While we're holding this shape, making sure to take full deep breaths. I think the breath is the doorway into the present moment. The breath is what helps us begin to let go in order to receive. We're going to take about 5 more breaths in our child's pose. And then just slowly start to almost roll your way up to just sitting on your heels. Letting the spine realign for a few rounds of breath. Then the first standing pose we're going to come into a dangling pose, a forward fold. So you're going to come onto your feet and then just let your head and neck go. You can grip your palms to opposite elbows. If you like, maybe bringing your elbows onto like some furniture. Maybe letting your hands dangle all the way towards the ground. Nice, knowing that we will be here for probably about 5 minutes. So choosing a pose that is close to your edge, but also something that you can sustain for a duration of time. So in Sanskrit, sva means self. And dhyaya means contemplation or study. So svadhyaya means one's own reading or self-study. And by investigating our states of the mind, our habits, our strengths and our weaknesses, we might be able to understand that we're a lot bigger than the small self. So forward folding, it's kind of like a physical metaphor for looking inside. And with our head bowed forward, we might ask ourselves, how am I today? By gently prompting ourselves with this question, we might get insight into our true state. Right? We might be agitated, at ease, bored, excited, angry, fearful, intolerant, at peace. All of these thoughts, all these states, they're a chance to practice svadhyaya. To look behind our feelings, look behind our emotions. We start to just let our emotions be seen and encourage the heart and the mind to relax. The more clearly we come to understand that we're a lot bigger than this. Let's take one more breath in this forward fold. And then can you slowly, slowly start to roll up one vertebrae at a time? And then the last thing that lands is your head balancing on both shoulders, and then just take some deep breaths in and out. So the next posture we're going to come to, we're going to be seated on our mat. You might take a cushion underneath you if that's comfortable. So this pose is called half shoelace. You're gonna keep your right leg long and you're gonna take your left leg and then step it across. And the key thing here is that you're on the outer edge of the foot. Let me turn so you can see me. So you're on the outer edge of the foot as opposed to being up like this. You're on the outer edge of the foot and you're kind of drawing the foot as close back to your hip as you can. And then you just take a breath in with your arms reaching up overhead. And then can you take an exhale and forward fold? I'm just going to make sure my phone is on Wi-Fi. It feels a little slow. No, it is. Okay. There. So this is accomplishing a couple of things. Right? It's a hamstring opener. And then it's a hip opener. And see if you can turn the mind's eye downward and inward. Just gently humbling forward into this stretch. So the reason why I chose this theme of self-reflection I've been thinking about it a lot this week. I think I told you guys earlier this week about this experience I had with meeting someone who I knew off of Instagram. And then just having this whole Instagram versus reality. When I realized he wasn't exactly who I expected he would be. And I began to kind of get awareness around how we create stories in our own minds about the way things are. And it takes a lot of self-reflection to be able to step back and see, you know, what truly is, and then what have we kind of created around it. And I had something interesting happen to me today in the same theme. I have an ex-partner who is also my business competition. And I used to work for him. And I had kind of spiraled into my head all these assumptions about him talking bad about me behind my back. You know, I haven't heard from him in months, and I only assume he's not very happy with me, and I don't think he speaks very highly of me. And then I was talking to my former colleague who still works with him, and she told me, he only says nice things about you. He only says, you know, your businesses went separate ways, but that doesn't impact your friendship. And you know, it really, really surprised me to hear him saying that, because I had convinced in my head that he was talking bad about me behind my back. And it's really interesting when you find out that, like, assumptions you made or stories you made just like aren't accurate at all. Let's just take a few more rounds of breath here. And then can you slowly peel up? And then just lengthen out through your left leg. So you have your right leg and your left leg extended. And then just take a minute and feel your left leg as opposed to your right. And then when you're ready, going the opposite way. So our right leg is going to come across the left, and you'll be on the outer edge of the right foot. And then take a big breath in and lengthen. And then hinge and walk forward, walking your palms all the way forward. So our minds have a funny way of dictating our reality. Right? I know for years and years that I was convinced that I couldn't quit alcohol. Right? Like I told myself it was something that I wasn't capable of. And I posted something about it on Instagram this week. It's amazing how when you change your beliefs around something, when you just say, you know, instead of saying I'd like to quit or I'd like to cut back, you shift and you say I'm a non-drinker. How did that change your reality? Right? And all that was a little shift around the story you told to yourself. So we're going to be here for maybe about a minute longer on this side, taking deep breaths. Can you imagine like your legs or the rocks, spine is kind of water tumbling over? Can you be almost like observing your thoughts as if you're just sitting by a waterfall and watching the water rushing over the rocks. Just take 5 more breaths. And can you roll all the way up? And then once again, uncross the leg. And then just feel the legs lengthen and feel the spine lengthening. And experience that. Experience that shape almost wash over you. Okay, so we have another hip opening pose. We're gonna come all the way into our dragonfly. So you're just gonna move through crisscross. And then up onto the hands and knees. And then leave your left knee where it is and step your right foot wide, so it's wider than your hands. And then either staying on the palms or maybe coming down onto the elbows. We'll be here for probably about 3 minutes. So choose a variation that you can sustain for the whole 3 minutes. And then it might be nice to roll, show you what I'm doing with my foot. I'm rolling onto the other edge of the foot. Every single person does this differently, so it might feel good like that or just normal on your foot. I like to kind of open it a little bit. And if you have a sensitive left kneecap, you can always cushion the kneecap. See if you can relax through the glutes, relax through the tops of the thighs. And then just turn your head down as if your mind is bowing to your heart. start to become uncomfortable, just remind yourself that this pose will pass just a minute longer. You can do it. You got this. Take one more breath. Nice. And then just come all the way up. Let's slide the right knee back. And then just sit back on the heels. And feel the difference between your right side and your left. Especially interesting when we take an asymmetrical pose. You really feel the difference from right side compared to left. Just notice that. Stay for a few more inhales and exhales. And then just slowly start to come all the way up. And then one more time, we'll step our left foot forward this time. Maybe cushioning the right knee, deciding if you want to roll onto the outer edge of the left foot or be flat on the foot. Maybe you're up on the palms, maybe you're on the elbow. Landing in a place where you can stay in stillness. I think the amazing thing about yin is that it really challenges us to stay with the pose, to hold the pose. No matter what discomfort arises. And with it, we really learn resiliency. Right? I can be uncomfortable and be okay with it. I can cope with this stress. I can sustain through this. What else do you learn from your yin practice? What life skills can you transfer? Our yoga mat, it's almost like a petri dish. Right? It's like a petri dish of your world. And just watch for what you learn about yourself as you move through the poses. Just stay for one more minute. And then we're going to step the left foot all the way back. And then sit your hips back on the heels again. Give yourself another moment. Allowing everything to kind of settle. And we're going to drop into kind of a counter pose for all these shapes. So we did a ton of forward folding, which is a flexion of the spine. It's a curl inwards. And so it can be really nice to counter that with a heart opener. And I'm going to use my bolster. And I also want to add a little bit of height to it. So normally in the studio, I would use blocks. I don't know if we have blocks at home necessarily. So I'm just grabbing another pillow to kind of add a little bit of like height to prop myself up, if that makes sense. So it might be nice to kind of make some sort of ramp type of thing. And when you're happy with whatever you've assembled, you're gonna bring your feet together and then just lay your heart back on the ramp. And then just lay your palms wherever you want, on your belly, on your legs, whatever is comfortable. I think it's so easy to get caught in our negative patterns of the mind. they're so ingrained in us that we don't even know that they're necessarily there. I went home for Christmas this past Christmas, and I remember while I was home just getting into this really negative head spin or head circle of me for some reason telling myself over and over again like I'm a bad person. You know, after I had caught myself making some mistakes that I regretted, it somehow spiraled into I am a bad person. And you don't even notice when you're doing it until you snap out of it, or you maybe use the words to process it and reflect it, and you're like, wow, this is something I made up in my head that I'm repeating, and I'm repeating it so much that I'm convincing myself it's true. And to get out of that, I remember walking down the street and just practicing really, really simple breathing meditations. Inhaling here, and then exhaling now. Inhaling here, and exhaling now. It's really, really simple. But for me, it worked. Right? The only place that life happens is in the now. And when we use our breath to come into the now, it gives us this opportunity to step out of these stories in our brain and look at them a bit more clearly. So maybe resting here into your stillness, and if you have any maybe any moments throughout the week that you're able to look back at and see. Just maybe with a bit more clarity. Identifying that, a few more breaths here. And we're going to slowly peel our way off of this ramp that we've constructed. And then slide everything to the side. Let the body come all the way back down. And we're just going to simply neutralize before our Shavasana with a spinal twist. So you can draw your knees in. And then lay your knees to one side and land your palm there and then send your gaze in the opposite direction. Open your right arm. And then take the knees all the way back through center. And then we'll drop them the other way. And slowly come all the way back through center. Give your body one nice little hug. Knees into the chest. And when you're ready, slowly, slowly stretching out the left leg and then the right leg. Letting your heels be heavy, letting your toes droop away. And then deciding whether you want to place your palms on your navel for an intention of groundedness. Maybe them flipping them flat and face up if you want a little bit of space to receive. Drop into stillness and drop into silence. Allowing your letting go to almost be like a ripple effect. Know that I'll bring you back in a few minutes when the time's up. Please prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Please prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Please prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Give your fingers and your toes a little wake up wiggle. Run a nice long stretch, fingertips all the way through toe. Maybe curling up into a nice little hug. Making your way up to a seated shape. Taking your palms together at the heart center. We close with our intention. It's an ancient intention, but the original intention. It's been passed from heart to heart through thousands of years. It's that our yoga practice remain steady, that our efforts remain continuous, that our yoga practice serves and benefits all beings everywhere. May all beings be safe, be happy, be healthy, be free, and may the thoughts and actions of each of our lives contribute towards this. So we'll finish with an Om. If you want to join inhaling, exhaling, inhaling through to make the Om. So a big breath in, and a big breath out. Big breath in. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing the space and the practice. The light in me sees and honors the light that is within each one of you. Om Shanti Shanti. Namaste.